Welcome to the Zoom studio. My name is Matthew Saxon. I'm the Chief People Officer here at Zoom, and I am thrilled to be joined by Necole Jackson-DeJoie from Boston Consulting Group. Hello again.
Hi, thanks for having me. So excited. It's a huge buzz. It's a vibe.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you were saying this is your second year here at Zoomtopia?
It is my second year at Zoomtopia. I presented last year, and then we just had the panel together. It's always so exciting. Everyone's really nice, and a great networking opportunity, I think, too.
It is. Yeah, well, it's great to have you. I wanted to just kick off by saying a lot has changed in terms of how companies are working. And we're all trying to figure this out. We're all trying to evolve to new ways. And what I'd love to know is, what do you think has been some of the successes that you've seen with these new ways of working?
Yeah, so I like to tell people that I think coming out of the pandemic, it's the biggest trial that we've been through, but the grandest experiment. And the thing that I've appreciated is it's challenged our thinking around how, when, where people work. It's also forced us to really think about bringing the whole individual to work and really thinking about what do employees need when they come into the office, whether it's virtual or physical every day. There are diversity aspects, there are mental wellness aspects, there are teaming things that I don't think considered very well before. And most of all, I mean, there's the flexibility component, the feeling that I can still do really, really good work and be productive, but I can also do that in a way that's authentic to myself and supportive of what I need for my family, but also really supportive of what BCG needs for me as an employee.
Yeah, I think it's a really good point that you talk about. And we were talking before about this idea that there are work-life integrators and work-life separators. And so even within an organization and individuals, they operate differently. And so being accommodating to that, I think, is like really important. Let me go to my next question here. So how have you seen organizations effectively adapt their working strategies?
So I'll tell you a little bit about how we've adapted ours. Our guiding principle at BCG is we unlock the talent. We unlock the talent that advances the world. And for us, it's really important that we have apprenticeship models where our team members are supporting one another in how we deliver the work. We think that there are four components of how we look at work of the future. There's what does the business need, what do our operations need, what does the team need, and what does the individual need. All four are important. We're never completely in balance, but all four are important. So as we thought about modern work for employees, we have been really pulling initiatives under three umbrellas. What are HR policies that support the employee? The second is, what are the culture of BCG, but culture at the office level? What's the secret sauce that has continued to make us a really thriving company and firm? And lastly, what are the right technologies that are necessary in order for us to be able to support our employees no matter where they are? So meeting them where they are, whether they're at home, in the office, traveling, or at a client site. All three areas need to come together to really create a really good strategy. And we're continuously thinking about programming or benefits that support each of those three pillars.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about like maybe some specific examples of what BCG are doing in any one of those three areas?
Absolutely. So the thing that stands out for me in HR is we quickly realized that people needed more of a flexible work model that they hadn't had before. And so there's some employees where 40-hour work or plus work week works for them. There are others where they may say, I need to work 80% because there's something happening in my life at this time where I can't do 100%, but I can do 80%. And can we figure something out? I think that's hugely beneficial to the employee.
And that's recent?
That's recent. That's coming out of the pandemic, so that's recent. The other thing is office culture. We've done a really good job of redesigning our spaces. So we know that being at home, folks are used to a certain comfort level, etc. We want to support employees who are at home, but we also want to support them when they come into the office. And so it's required that we redesign spaces in a way that thinks about different needs of the employee, meeting spaces that are more hybrid spaces, right? So you can be in the meeting room, but the people who are virtually joining that meeting as well, they feel involved and integrated into the call.
Yep.
Heads down spaces, collaborative workspaces. We've thought about things like this seems, like an easy one. I don't know how many companies have done this, but we do free meals throughout the week, right?
Yeah.
So it's just easy when folks are in the office for them to be there, and we're making things as simple as possible for them.
Yeah, and I think that making it easy is really important for organizations as you think about how do you create a pull factor for people to want to come into the office because they're getting something maybe that they can't get at home. Have you found that we have sort of lost the art of being able to work in open plan environments?
I don't think that we've lost the art of working in open plan offices. I think, and you were touching on this earlier in the panel, I think we have become used to routine. Mm-hmm. We have become used to working on our own in a room by ourselves. And so when we make our way back to the office, that somehow feels a little different. And I think our employees are figuring it out. There's some natural things that we're trying to adjust. For example, we've said, if you're going to come into the office, let's make sure that you're not on virtual meetings the entire day. It kind of like,
right.
It's the opposite of the intent. We don't want to just see your face. We want to feel your participation. But I think that employees are figuring it out as they make their transition back.
Yeah, and I think it's that intentionality about what does good look like being in the office is not necessarily like getting your to-do list done mm-hmm. or, doing 8 back-to-back meetings, something like that. We've talked a little bit about how do we build connection as employees to each other, to the mission and vision of the organization, to its culture. What are some of the things that you've seen or that BCG are doing to really build connection?
Yeah, so we've done a lot of research around future of work, and that research has told us things like it's the journey to getting to the work product. It's not just about the work product. So insights around diversity, insights around mental wellness, etc., are really important in our work journey as well. And so there are 2 things that I'll raise. The first is in our culture pillar, we have set up a teaming at BCG organization. Their role is to focus on our sustainability and to focus on like how we team well as an organization. They recognize that 3 years ago, we were all in physical spaces together, and now a lot of the times we're all in different places. And so their remit is to try and help us figure out how to work well with one another. Examples would be upskilling us on digital tools and how to leverage the tools to our advantage when you're working in a hybrid environment. We have had psychological safety classes that they've given. They've gotten coaching unlock programs that they've also shared to help managers who now have employees who are not always in the physical space with them. And so those aspects are really important as we think about modern work. The other thing I would say is from a mental wellness perspective as well, we've done a lot more programming, both virtually and in the physical office space, around different wellness programs that support varied employee needs. And so I think that's been super positive to see as well.
Yeah, and I think particularly where we've got a lot of employees who are working remotely, making sure they're looking after their mental and physical well-being is really important. And it's great to see you being so deliberate around it.
Yeah, I did a martial arts class.
Did you really?
I did. It was a physical office training program, and a team member actually came in from another office who is a black belt, and he did a self-defense, not a martial arts, but a self-defense. Oh, no. But he did say, remember, you are the most important person in any physical situation, and to remember that. But like, it's those examples of how we come together, and that's not, like, we didn't hire someone to come in. This is a team member who has the skill set, and this is how we're like engaging as a whole team to really drive better habits and support one another in the office.
I love that. And, everyone has a story, everyone has a background, and hearing that you're leveraging different people's talents just in terms of their own interests at BCG, that's awesome.
Yeah.
What advice would you give other people out there who are thinking about how to navigate this sort of future of work What are some of the things that you would sort of impart on people?
Yeah, the number one is I'd let the data set you free. So really important that leaders are looking at data outside of their organizations just to tap into learnings from other groups, and also that they're listening to their employees. I'd be careful of your own biases. Before hybrid working, I was a huge advocate for being in the office all the time. Like, this is how I operated. I get a lot of energy from being around the team. They get a lot of energy from me as well. And so I think it's important for us as leaders to check our biases at the door. What may be good for me may not be good for the entire organization. And so, like, it's really important for us to continue to listen to our employees and our business leaders, our team members, to understand what works well for the company. And then the third is, let's really be intentional about understanding your culture and your secret sauce. What are the things that have made you successful? Doesn't mean that never changes, but the things that are working well for your employees, I think it's really important for us to make sure that we're continuing to capitalize that, and we're growing on top of that. We don't have to dynamically shift from it. Understand your secret sauce, and then put together programming that supports that secret sauce.
I love that. You mentioned before, we were talking about camera on, and some people at BCG are like, hey, and you were saying, and maybe even your own example of like, sometimes you don't want to be camera on. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because we're all sort of struggling with that on certain days.
Yeah, I find that when I'm working from home, I'm typically on meetings with rarely any gaps. This was actually something I had to learn from. And it was my nutritionist who told me, Necole, you're allowed to have lunch. Necole, you're allowed to walk away from your desk. Like, these are habits that I think we need to remind ourselves of. I would stay on a call from 7 a.m. until 7 p.m. and I just knock meetings out back to back to back.
Yeah.
The challenge with that is you're continually doing context switching, different personalities, really complex problems you're solving from one meeting to another, right? And that's really draining. I have found what works for me, if I have a long day of meetings, number one, I've introduced breaks so that I can walk away, because I find for me that there's only so much value I can add if I've got back-to-back meetings. The second thing I've found is, if I have a meeting heavy day, there might be times where I say, I just need to turn this camera off, because you're literally looking at me talk for 30 minutes for the next 9. But I'm also really clear with the people on the call about that. And I'll say, hey, I've just been on a lot of calls today. I just need a moment to be off camera. I'm here, I'm present, I'm contributing. I just don't want to be looked at, right? And I think when you're in the physical space, yes, you are being looked at all the time, but there's a difference than being spotlighted on a camera, like in a meeting, versus I'm in my office, heads down. Occasionally somebody pops in their head and we're having a conversation. And so I'm really transparent about that with the team. And I think it's okay. I think it's okay for people to have moments where they don't want to be accessible on video, and they can pop back in when it's the right time.
I love that. Like, giving yourself the permission space and then saying to other people, I think that's great, because you're role modeling that as well, and saying, like, it's okay. And we have to think about how we work in sort of what I call sustainably healthy ways. And that is just a great example. And you've given me some ideas that I might borrow, if you don't mind. Necole, it's been so great to talk to you. Thank you so much for coming in and sharing some of the insights with us. Tell us your favorite Zoom product or feature.
I just took a look at Zoom Clips and Workvivo. So I just got a demo from both booths, and we're going to have a Workvivo demo in a couple of weeks with the greater team. But I thought both were pretty interesting.
They are. They're awesome. Thank you so much.